Yeah, hello, everybody. I believe you can hear me. I hope everybody's had a wonderful day. It's been real pretty here. I got to check something now. Hang on. Yep, it looks like we're live. And oh, yep. Hello. I am. All right. Yeah, you can tell this is live. I had to take a phone call, but there's a couple of things I want to talk about. And this video right here, I'll play it real quick and let you hear what it says.
Did Jeffrey Epstein hang himself or did somebody kill him?
Senator, I believe he hung himself in a cell in the Metropolitan Detention Center.
Are you going to release all the information about that?
Senator, we are working through that right now with the Department of Justice.
When you think you'll have it done, Cash?
I think in the near future, sir.
Like before I die? Christmas ornaments, drywall, and Jerry Epstein. Name three things that don't hang themselves. That's what the American people think.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to get, I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
I know it's hard work.
So who's in charge at the New York FBI field office? Who's withholding Epstein docs from the Attorney General? James Dennehy is running the show there. There he is. This is the guy who emailed his whole staff to dig in after Trump took office. And don't forget that James Comey's daughter is an assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. She worked on the Epstein and Maxwell cases. She's kind of knee-deep in this. Epstein was facing sex trafficking charges in Lower Manhattan. Where's all that paperwork? The FBI seized computers, surveillance videos, banking records, file cabinets, and photographs from all of Epstein's properties in New Mexico, the Virgin Islands, Palm Beach, and in New York. The Justice Department also gave Epstein a sweetheart non-prosecution deal 17 years ago. Where are those files? The Bureau of Prisons. Where are those files? You remember where Epstein killed himself? I asked Bill Barr about that, why everything seemed to go wrong that night.
When I first heard all the information and all the coincidences here, I was suspicious.
What were the coincidences? I mean, those were a lot of coincidences.
Well, one of the cameras was out.
Right.
He was supposed to have a cellmate. Cellmate left. They didn't replace the cellmate. And the guards who were supposed to check him every half hour didn't check him.
My EMT source said he was on the scene immediately to pull Epstein's body out to the morgue. And when he got to the cell, he saw 7 people there touching Epstein's body and moving stuff around.
There's so much that we don't know. And when and how will we ever know it is beyond me. But this is an interview that I did in 2019. And I just want to play you just a little bit of it. The link for the full video is in the description box.
We're talking the Mandela effect. Researcher Buddy Huggins is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. His website, buddyhuggins.blogspot.com. Buddy, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
When did you start looking into the Mandela effect?
Well, I first caught wind of it probably about 4 years ago. And I noticed something that just really got me right at the beginning. It was the Forrest Gump, life is like a box of chocolates. And literally, when I heard the reverse of that, it blew me away. And then the other one that got me was the line lays down with the lamb. Supposedly a hard scripture from the Bible that had been changed to the wolf lays down with the lamb. And I just couldn't believe it. So I had to get into understanding what could it possibly be. Memory, a freak type of memory loss or something about the memory. So that took me down a rabbit's trail of understanding how do we remember things. And now science is saying that a memory is just an actual copy of a memory that each time we remember it, it gets fuzzier and fuzzier. So for me, that is the psyop. That is what they're trying to use to say there has not and will not be no more Mandela effects. And I'm here to tell you that, hang on, you ain't just begun to see something change. You're going to see everything change. Literally, you're going to walk outside of your house and a car is going to drive by and you're going to go, I've never seen that brand. I've never seen that make. I've never seen that model. I've never seen that color. What is going on? Well, you're in the twilight zone because this is what's happening in this reality right now. It's a glitch. You remember the Matrix movie where the cat came across the doorway?
Yes.
And it glitched. It literally came across the doorway again. Did it take the right foot? Did the right foot paw step first, or was it the left? You have to go back and check the video. See, we can do a little bit of checking with residual effects that get left over in Google search engine, and thank goodness we got DuckDuckGo and a few other things. But you got to do it quick because everything is changing. When you put your finger on something, it's subject to not be the same thing that you thought it was, especially 6 years ago. How about will it be the same thing if I tell somebody about it? You get me what I'm saying? The Ford logo on the car.
I have a key. I have a key from an old Ford sitting right in front of me that one of our listeners, Oscar, sent me. And it does not have the little curly Q on the Ford.
That's got some potent energy on it, and it's a residual. And there are existing reality shifts that leave us these little things so we can have a common route to talk about these things. You can't talk about it with somebody that ain't never had it happen to them. But when you actually got the residual in your hand and you can look at it, and then you question yourself, well, what about this photo from, they say 1923? Yeah, something has happened, because even the patterns on some of these things that we say has never changed has changed, and there's no residuals. But if you dig, you can find them. They're there. They're still there. What is this leading to? It's literally helping us to wake up to the truth of what is happening. It's not about what we've been told that history is. It's about what we know it to be and how we feel about the changes that we see in our reality. Are they good or are they bad? Well, if you're a person that's in fear and really don't know who you are consciously, then you have to listen to what people tell you is truth. And that's the way the system's been ran for a very long time. And now it's changing. And it's changing because of these things we call the Mandela effect, because they're glitches. And when that happens, then you can actually wake up. You can literally start asking the right questions about what is going on. And then when you really look into these things, you'll see that almost in my reality, I'm going to say this just for me, but everything I was ever told or taught is not true or fact. It's a story. It's his story. It ain't got anything to do with the truth. We can pick a subject. World War I, World War II, what happened at the Gulf of Tonkin. We can even come all the way to what happened 9/11. They can change history with their technology and their ability to control consciousness through mass mind control. And so with a generation, we don't know where we're at until we actually delve into it and look and see what the evidence is. Thank goodness for the Wayback Machine, but it don't work for World War I, and it don't work for World War II. But it's working for what we are right now. That's the biggest glitch in the system, is the internet.
So when you look at everything, and I can understand that there's a lot of glitching going on. There's a lot of weird things, from the Ford emblem, as you mentioned right off the bat, to lines in movies. Now, a lot of people will sit there and say this is just a glitch in people's memories and that it's not actually a time glitch. How do we tell the difference?
It's both. It's literally both. It was literally one way until enough people looked at it, it changed again. And some of these have shifted back. And it really gets to the point that it's confusing. But you have to keep in mind what is the point that it's trying to show you personally and then us collectively. And what it's showing us is we can't believe what we've been told. We can't believe anymore that the story is the way it looks until we do the research. You do not know the truth about nothing. And that's what we have to realize. That's where the chaos in this world is coming from. That's where the madness is happening inside of people's minds, is because they literally are not thinking for themselves. So there you go, asking that question to Buddy. Now, Buddy's going to tell you this. How many people out there do you think there really are? You think there's 7 billion people?
How many?
When you were just 10 years ago or 15 years ago, wasn't it 4 billion? Why did it all of a sudden explode to 7 billion, now headed to 9 billion? It's because it's not the truth. They have to have us believing that there's that many people in the world. It's not that many people. And when we get to the level that we can actually see this thing with conscious eyes, we realize that it's very few of us that are actually meant to hear the truth of what's happening in this world right now, so we can see who the perpetrators of the lies are throughout the timeline of history. And we can follow the trail, and we can follow the money, and we can start pointing them out. And we can say, that's what's happening. We're getting to this level where it's time to reset everything. And that's why we're even at this point having a conversation about something that could be a memory problem. If you know, you said that. That's what a lot of people are believing, that the Star Wars, Luke, I am your father. There's so much controversy over that right now. I can prove to you it's both. It's both. Even the actor himself said that he said the line, "No, I'm your father." But they can take that and just change it within a couple of conversations about who wrote the script. It's that we're getting to that nitpicking point right now, and what we have to do is just realize it's okay. We can use this glitch in the Matrix and this Mandela effect to start wakening not just ourselves up, but maybe some of the people that we think are real, and we love them, and we want to help the rest of what it is that we need to know about how to come more and more into peace, more and more into love, less and less into war, and striving in time is not what we were meant to do. It never was, and it never will be. We're Christ-conscious beings. If you don't like that word, pick immortals. We're immortals. We're in this monkey suit. We're in this physical body, but I'm not my body. I'm a spirit being that has always been and always will be, and you are too. And when we walk and talk in this reality, we can be whatever we say we can be, and we can do whatever we say we can do. And the best way to prove that and start that with the law of attraction is with our health and our physical body. And our thinking is number one. So if there is a Mandela effect, it's here to wake us up. And it's here to be a tool to show us that there is a better way to live and that we can spot the problem. And when enough of us turn to face the problem, they're outnumbered. And they're getting that way right now, and that's why we got so much chaos going on in the world that's leading us to they've been trying to take us into Third World War, Armageddon, since 2008, August the 8th, 2008, 888. That's when Russia attacked South Georgia and Ossetia. I know this because I had a Russian girl, friend girl, that started teaching me yoga. And I called her on the telephone and I said, "Irina, what is this about Russia?" And she said, "It's not true, buddy. I just got off the phone with my family, and they're telling me that Russia's the good guys." Do you want me to tell you what happened?
Sure. We got time. We got about 8 minutes before we go to break. Fire this.
Okay, I'll make it quick. When they took over that air base, they were going to launch 2 Israeli strike fighters, and they were going to take out the Yellow Cake uranium plant in Iran. That didn't happen, did it?
No,
Our intel told us at that time there were going to be a dirty bomb go off in Miami or New York, Chicago, or Washington, D.C. We didn't know where. We didn't know what happened. That didn't happen. Well, what happened was a glitch in the system to the point that it changed the timeline. The first big shift in our timeline was 888, August the 8th, 2008. And most light workers that actually are resonating with what I'm saying, their toes are vibrating. Because it's not been said very often, where and when did that first timeline shift come? That was it. How many times have we shifted since then? I can tell you one big one, and that was 2012, 12/21. They said nothing happened. Well, a lot happened. And to explain
fill me in on this. I need to know this.
Go ahead. The 2012?
Yeah. What
okay. All right. I'm going to tell you. It's not. I can't explain it, and we could talk about this for 3 weeks. But the Earth was destroyed, and what we have left.
We all died.
Well, there is no death. The system was rebooted, And when it rebooted and came back online, you came back into your reality as your being in your atoms, in your cells. And everybody that you see did too. But that left a lot of glitches. So they've been trying to computerize and fix these glitches in this system. You see, this system's not what we ever been told, and especially not now. It's getting obvious that there's a problem. The sun is not even yellow. It's white. We're not even in the same part of the Milky Way galaxy that we once was. And now there's people saying the Earth is flat. And it's round. And they're saying it's flat and it's round. It's both at the same time, because there is no Earth. Never has been. And if it was destroyed over 2,000 years ago. This whole thing has been rebooted quite a few times. The movie The Matrix is a documentary. Most people think it's entertainment, but it's way more than that. And we're at the understanding now that it's all done with AI, a type of computer intelligence that we ain't got a clue how far ahead of us it really is. And it's really out there.
There's a lot of thought to think that we blew up. I don't remember it. I don't know anybody else who remembers that. How would our subconscious not remember that?
It's a type of stasis. And I was told that the stasis was going to happen in 2010. And I didn't believe it then, and I don't believe it now. I find it real hard to believe that I can't, how can I come from one body to another body in a total reality that had been sucked into a black hole? But I'm here, and I still witness the world being here in the chaos that it is now. And that makes you question everything. What really could happen if CERN was to do the one thing that would be the end of us all? So, see, you can't think about that until you realize maybe it's already happened.
Yeah, but how do we know that the world was rebooted on that date? I mean, because I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you. I came back just as handsome then.
Yeah, I got a few scars on me that weren't there before, but I understand. And I said at the when I got into the conversation, I said we could talk about it for 3 weeks, and I couldn't prove it. And what led us to that was how many people are on the planet. And I told you that it was not near about 7 billion that are real. What does that make all the other people?
Well, you tell me, because I'm going by what the records show.
That they seem to all be physical bodies and moving in time and space just like me and you are. They're not. And I can't prove it, but I can tell you like this. I'm not the only one that's having these thoughts. They're backdrop people. Doris Cannon. She's the one that brought that up, and when she brought it up, very few people could understand her now. By me saying this, people are starting to resonate with what I just said. What do you mean backdrop people? Yeah, they're like actors and characters. And it's like we're on a stage, and this thing has been scripted and programmed, and we have a role, but we don't know that we have a role until we start meeting other people that have come from the director and telling us that we got to do this part. Do I have to do that part? No, I don't. I can be a free agent. And that's what we're doing. We're thinking, and then we ask these questions, and then we want to see what is the actual proof of anything that I just said. Is it reality or is it just an illusion? Why didn't we go into Third World War 888 August the 8th? The reason we didn't go into Third World War is because that dirty bomb didn't go off in New York City or Washington or Miami. timeline shift.
Gotcha.
Why did it shift? Why did it shift? Well, our intel tells us that Putin was given the information to be there at that airport where they could shoot him up. And, you know, when they shot him up, it was Mossad and Black Ops. It's the deep state. And when they shot him up, they left their laptops with the blueprints of the Third World program on the laptop. Now get this, the dead-gum laptop ran for a month without needing to be charged. That just gives you one little piece of how diabolical they were trying to blow up the world then. That was 2008. They've done tried to do it, and then they're talking about it right now on the news, going to war with Iran. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, I see what you're saying. It's just, you know, that's just the way it is. When you need to make money because the economy goes in the tank, what better way than to start a war? That's just the way it's always been under the military-industrial complex.
And that's all they can see right now. But that's not the truth of who we are, and it's not the truth of where we're going. And they know that they're being busted out. And how they're being busted out is through consciousness and through awareness of who we are and what we are in time and space. And
all right.
So,
Buddy, I'm going to get you to hold on there. We're going to go to our first break of the night, or a second break, top of the hour. Buddy Huggins is here. We're talking Mandela effect, sir.
Energy plates have been calm.
Oregon, KZFX 9.
happen. Period. End of conversation. But how many years are we removed from 2001, 9/11? This is 2019. Just grab that in your thought and just realize how much time supposedly has went by since that event. We should know a whole lot more about everything than we do now. But we don't, because of the manipulation of the ability to mind control us on levels that we never dreamed of before the year 2001. I'll give you one example. Cell phones. As we was talking in the pre-talk, I told you I've never owned a cell phone. You want to know why?
Why is that?
In 2003, I woke up.
What happened?
Well, the memory came back to me of a conversation I had with a CIA guy in 1993. Didn't mean a thing to me until after 2003. But what he had told me then, he had came off a DARPA project, and he said, I've got to tell you that I think there's a type of technology coming down the pike that's going to look like a smart glass pad. And he said, I'll tell you more about it. A year went by, 2 years went by. So this is getting close to 1995. And the next conversation we had, he was face to face. He said, I'm going to tell you right now, don't ever own one. And I said, why? And he said, it's not good. And he wouldn't tell me any more than that, but he did tell me everything that Edward Snowden had told when Edward Snowden blew the whistle on all of the data collecting that had been done. He said that the data collecting was even done with rotary dial phones. Can you imagine that the data collecting system had already been going since 1950 and nobody even had a clue that they were accumulating this information? What is this information for? Why has it accelerated at the point of every child has to have a cell phone in the front pocket? Do you know what a child with a cell phone in their front pocket is doing to themselves? I can tell you real quick.
Sure.
The statistical analysis is this. I've been interviewing people that I can talk to that are nurses in schools and teachers and administrators in my local area here in southern Missouri. And I'm finding out that I'm telling the truth about what I already had hypothesized, is that these young teenage girls are not getting pregnant at the rate I was back in the day when I was in the high school in the 70s. Can you see the direct link to what happens to a child when he puts a boy male, when he puts a cell phone in his front pocket and leaves it in there all day?
It means that I don't have to worry about becoming a grandfather anytime soon, and I'm okay with that.
Yes, and it was purposely put that way to actually control this next push of generations. And see, that is part of the information that's been in the pipeline, even with this young guy back in the 90s, knowing that it was going to be that diabolical in the future. So it was like I had a piece of the time-traveling machine that was telling me something, and it told me never own a cell phone. Now, I will tell you this, I've bought them for women and paid for the bills, but when they hand them to me, I don't even use them. I won't have a conversation over a cell phone. I'll put it on a table and holler at it. I'll tell them, call me back on a real phone. But the point is this. The type of technology that has advanced is 100 times greater than they're telling us. The type of simulation model that they're building and these quantum computers that they tell us are just now coming online, bull. They've already had them online for maybe 40 years. And some of this technology is off-world technology intermingling with our terrestrial archetype. In other words, our DNA is specifically vibrating at a certain frequency. So to really understand how to track a God body, you got to really know everything about everything. So they're building a simulation, and they're even starting to tell us that that's exactly what it is. It's a simulation of what you're doing at the time that you're doing it,
right,
real time, with the multitudes of people that they're tracking. When they really kick this thing off,
right, go ahead.
They can literally see through objects. And what they need to kick it off is 5G, and that's what they're pushing right now.
So getting back to the Mandela effect with everything that has gone on, when did the timeline skip? Did it change? Did we go through a polar shift? What caused it?
That is a question that's up for grabs, but I can give you some things that you can look at in the reality of the world, and you can start paying attention to see when you think it shifted, and then ask other people when they think it shifted. One of the things
I'm asking you, boss. You're my guest tonight.
Well, for me, it's the yellow sun. I grew up with the yellow sun, and I knew that Superman got his strength through the yellow sun in the comic books because my daddy told me that was the way it was. And then all of a sudden, I was a sun gazer, and it was the time I was living in Houston, Texas, a lot further south. And as soon as the sun come up over this horizon, I could watch it for a pretty good while and see the ball for a pretty good while, about 15 degrees solar angle. And in the evening, I could see the same thing. All of a sudden, 6 years ago, I can't sun gaze anymore. As soon as it comes above the horizon, it's bright white. It's freaking huge. You can't even look into it as a sun gazer. So I have a history of sun gazing. It's on my website. People can see the videos back in the year when I was talking about this, pre-6 years ago. And then all of a sudden, I start trying to explain to people that something's wrong with the sun. Not only the sun, but the color of the sky is not right. And so I do my research, and what I find out is there's a lot of other people out there that are noticing the sun is white. It's classified as a yellow sun. So that made me want to question the reality of why would it Why would it change? And that was one of the time shifts that I told you that happened, that I'm being told that it happened in 2012, 12/21. Not that date, not necessarily that moment, but it was a systematical takedown of the entire universe system that we see, which is basically a simulation, holographic universe anyway. So when they rebooted it, we came back as if nothing had happened. But that's the residual effect of finding these glitches in the matrix and having these conversations with different people that can prove or say or don't know what happened, because nobody knows exactly what happened. But
so you don't blame the changing color on the sun to the amount of chemtrails or contrails that are out there right now?
That's a possibility, and also the fact that they need that type of material that they're putting in the atmosphere to trickle down to get involved into our bodies as nanobots. And these other particulates that have ability to radiate our vibration. Everybody has different vibrations, so the materials that they put in our atmosphere is combined with 5G will allow them to take it to a next level of the simulation and real time be able to get data from us even at a quicker ability than what they've already got and already have had. So the diabolical part of it is that they want our thoughts. But get this, that's the end of it. That's the end of the game.
Who's they?
Private. Let me say private thoughts first. That's the gimmick, is that they want to know what you're thinking. But the reality is that when the game is over, it's when we realize there are no private thoughts, because we're one with everyone and everybody that we see anyway. But right now the world is set up on this understanding that your thoughts are private. So they're cracking the door, that's Pandora's box, and they are the architects of evil. They are the creator gods that literally have created this reality in their image. And they want to tell us that it's a loving God that has done this. There's no way. It's a fairy tale. The creator is having to interact with this environment through something they can't even cooperate with, and that is a higher understanding of love. And once you vibrate at love, then you can realize who you are and what you are, and that you are not your story, you're not your name, and you're not a physical body. You're inhabiting a physical body, and you're a light being. You're a fragment of the creator source that is trapped here in time and space. Not at your own free will no more, because the game has got so dirty that they're contaminating the fact that we even have free will. And one understanding of that is death. We've been lied to about what death is. You remember the man I told you he was 91 when I got with him? His name was Tupelo Joe Turner. Joe Turner stayed with me for 2.5 years on the road. He left and he stayed gone for another year, and he called me on the telephone. He said, "Buddy, you're going to hear a great untimely of my passing." And I said, "Joe, what's fixing to happen?" And Joe said, "Buddy, I'm fixing to lay my body down." And I said, "Joe, you can do that?" And he said, "Yeah, I can do that." We all can do that. But what I'm bringing that up for is this, because he did pass. But it was his time, it was his way. We all have that time and we all have that way. There's something that we all have in common that can hear these words, is that we're all going to go the way of the grave. We're going to all go to that thing called death. But
True.
that's not who we are, and that's not what we are. We're eternal light, and we're eternal creator understanding of the I am, of what that means to you, to source, means everything when it comes to knowing that we have the control at the end of everything to either look into the light and be totally food again, or actually stand up in what we are and say, why do I need the light when I am the light? And then we can see through the matrix and the grid that is around this entire earth, be it flat earth or round earth. There is a grid that we can start paying attention to now in our awakening life, so especially when we get to the transfer of our consciousness, to understand that I'm not going back through another matrix of forgetting who the hell I was and come back through a crying baby and do this whole mess over just so these entities, these beings, these false creator gods can soul trap us. And I tell people, and I'm proud of it, this is my last rodeo. I'm not coming back. I'm here in this reality now, consciously aware and awake of who I am, and I can tell as many people as can hear me that there is a way out of this mess, and it ain't by going into the light and thinking you're going to go to a physical place called heaven and fish and do things that you would do in your physical body with your physical story. That's an illusion, and it's a lie, and it's mind control. And that's where society is right now. Everybody has forgot how to think. They're thinking with their left brain. They don't have a clue that they can think with their heart. And that's what people have.
I understand that, but when it comes to the way we are being controlled, who's controlling it? Is this like out of George Orwell's 1984, where we're being controlled by some biological AI-type computer, or are we being controlled by the cabal, the Illuminati, God himself? Or is there some sort of video game being played on another planet where we're just a great reality series for aliens?
Yeah, we're the Jeopardy show. We're the Truman Show. We're all that and a bag of chips. Everything that you just said is pointing back to the fact that we don't know anything about reality. Until we become still within our being and our mind, until we realize that we never have been a victim and that the things that have all happened to us are an illusion. There is no past and there is no future. We are the present moment, and in this moment we can do and have everything. Not to the point that we're wizards, but the ones that are controlling us are the wizards. They're the witches. They're the ones that actually do the black magic. And they spin these spells, and they're so good at it that they're billionaires and trillionaires. And there's quadrillionaires. They got all the money they need,
Ooh.
So what do they need?
Who's a trillionaire?
Who the quadrillionaires are? The quadrillionaires are the actual people behind the scene of what has happened. The original, I've been told, 21 creator gods. And these entities can live for 30,000 years. In their physical form, they can manifest in any shape they want. And that's, according to the old talk, ship shakers. I can't even say the word. But they're real. And they are powerful. But they're losing their power because people are awakening, and there have been forerunners telling us this all through history.
Buddy, you hold on. We're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Buddy Huggins is our guest. We'll have more CERN Mandela Effect right after this on Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio.
To suspenseful and orders.
The feel for the historical path and follow
Now, coming out of the break, you were kind of going down a little bit of a historical route here on how we are under control as people, and we got to break that control. You wanted to get a little bit more deeper into it.
Well, we can, but to talk about the controllers, then we kind of get into a place where a lot of thinking minds can't go. But that's okay. It's because it's meant to be that way. It's supposed to sound so outrageous that nobody can actually make the historical path and follow the line by following the money to get to where these diabolical type people are and who they are. Well, they have minions, and the minions are what you see on television. And they're puppets and puppet masters, and the ones that are pulling the strings are behind the scenes. And that's the way they want it to be. And that's the way you can get a feel for the type of entity that we're talking about. But until you do your own research and you look into this ancient knowledge, they have certain keywords that they talk about, and these keywords are the ones that are literally online now are considered don't say words. And the Kabbalah is one, the Illuminati one. It doesn't even describe the type of entities that we're talking about that could perpetrate this, but you got to see who they really are. And they're actually doing what they were designed and made to do as the dark. And they're doing a good job. But there's time to bust them out, and there's times to understand why they're doing what they're doing, and so we can stop it in reality. And that's like right now they're bringing up this stuff about Iran again. If you follow the history, it's a cycle, it's a loop. I said back in 888, August the 8th, 2008, Russia attacked South Georgia and Ossetia. That was going to be the bombing of the Yellow Cake uranium plant that would have set us off into Third World War. We're in a loop. We're getting right back to the point that they want to pull the trigger again. And it's the same perpetrators of evil that are bringing us back to this loop. There's enough of us now awake that we can stop it. All we got to do is just watch and hear and see the signals that they're talking about, and we just know it won't happen the way they say it's going to happen. Now, whether we're going to get another supernatural time shift, I don't know. I don't know how close to the precipice of Third World War are we going to get before people rush out and start stocking up on food. But I can tell you right now, it never hurts to be prepared for 2 or 3 months of grid down situation. I'm not a prepper, but I happen to be married to one, and she's really good at what she does. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying be prepared.
Now, I want to know who they are, the 21 creators who are quadrillion bazillionaires, because what does a god have to need money for if he's got everything already?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's power. And they absolutely want all the power in the world. And that's what we represent to them as a great amount of power. And somehow they're feeding off of us. And I've heard the terminology, as I've been doing the research, called loosh. And I find it hard to believe, but think about all the agony and all of the suffering that's in the world that seems to be suffering, starving children in Africa, all of this and all that. Now, I've got the good news after I say how they're doing this and why they're doing this is because they're using us as food. We're cattle to these entities, these beings. Now, these 21 that fell are the Nephilims, and in the Bible it talks about they literally were cast down and to this earth, which at the time that was Tiamat, and at that time they had left Orion. They had literally destroyed Orion in wars. That's where the Star Wars comes from. That's where Lucas got all his ideas, and everything that you heard about Star Trek is true. It's the technology that they said was coming. It's already been here. But do we, as common people, see it? No, we don't. Do we have ways of understanding it? Now that we have the internet, yes, we have ways to understand what it could be like to have that type of ability to do what is, is like magic to us right now. But why are they doing what they're doing and who they are? Somehow, there were two brothers, and these two brothers in time and space were Enel and Enki, and their daddy was Anu. And these entities are the ones that fought over the humanoids on Earth to mine gold for their ability to save their planet. They totally terraformed this whole Earth. There are no forests on this Earth. Everything that you see that seems to be a forest are shrubs compared to what this paradise was before they started their evil agenda of just terraforming this whole Earth. And then that was during the time they needed a type of being that would mine the gold and do what they said, and that's where we get the corruption in our DNA that's with us today. So the actual indigenous race to planet Earth was transformed with a mixture of entities or beings that were brought from other planets to this planet. And soul trapping was on one of the brothers' minds, and it allowed it to take place. Now, that was totally against all of what we know the Creator God source to be, but how could these beings have that kind of power? It was because they were creator gods. They were the angels talked about in different mythologies and books around the world that get us to the point where now we can name them and see who they are and kind of understand how come they're so powerful. But it's a reality that is so far removed from our everyday source that we can't imagine it except in movies. And they were real happy to give us a lot of movies about who they are and how kind of power they have. And that's what we see happening in this world right now. All of the evil is done with education and uneducating the masses through mind control to keep us dumb, so we stay in a state of I'm broke, busted, sick, and disgusted. And that's what you get back from the universe, is that you are that. That type of thinking is what's leaving the planet. And what's coming onto the planet is as awareness that I am powerful and that I am able to see the game and I am able to point out who the perpetrators of evil are. Now, am I going to go after them? No. What I do is I point back into myself, and I realize that the reason the world is in the shape it is because the darkness is within me. And then I do my homework. I actually go in and I start understanding why things happen to me. In my life, I was able and given the gift for a short time period to travel in space and time, go back into Mississippi when I was 7 years old and witness incidences. Sometimes I witnessed them as I was looking at it from outside of my body, and sometimes I was physical. I did it for only a short time through certain key points of my life to be able to heal the incidences that left these huge scars in my mind and in my heart and my body, where it was affecting me physically in the now, causing me to have these psychotic thinking that I wanted to even die. I wanted to even kill myself. But given the gift to do this is not necessarily something that I can tell you that you can do. But if you do your inner flexion and you do what you have to do to understand the reasons that got you into situations that you are now, you're the only one that can heal it. You're the only one can fix it. Now, when I did this in that reality, at that time, it actually changed the physical and the people in my life. In other words, my father, for one example, was hard and harsh and mean for all of my adult life. And once that happened, where I was able to heal and forgive the incidences because I was able to go back and look at them, we'll call it supernatural, call it paranormal, call it a gift that the Holy Spirit allowed me to do. It allowed my daddy to become soft, loving, and peaceful. I was with him when he took his last breath. He became, the last 2 weeks of his life, he became telepathic. And he and I were having conversations telepathically. And he could see that he was going to be fine and that I was going to be fine. And he was able to lay his body down the way he wanted to lay his body down, just like Joe Turner. So I'm here to tell you that even death itself is a lie. Yeah, sure, the body dies, but the actual being and the life force of what we are is eternal.
So where does the consciousness go? Where does the consciousness go then?
Well, the consciousness is even a trick within itself. So if you're not at the point of understanding who you are when you pass, then you're almost doomed to do it again. In other words, it's one time to get this and get it right, and now is the time. And that's for everybody that is actually real. If you're not real, you can't get this, you won't get this, you just die, you're dirt, boom. But if you're really wanting to understand consciousness, then you can get it. The vibratory photon wave is here now to awaken us to this harvest. And this harvest is a real reflection of the God face itself and who we are. And when we see and understand, there is no fear in death, and there is no fear in being right or wrong. There's only love, and then peace in our mind, and then we can walk out whatever seems to be the problem without having to worry about, am I going to die, not knowing who I am and where I'm going. It's okay. There hasn't been anyone come back from the other side to tell us we're right or wrong. The whole point is this. Now is the best time to have peace. And the type of peace that passes all understanding is when you know that your peace is actually helping change the world. And that's what we need, more of that than the fear. The fear and the unknowing is what's causing the calamity, where we see that we could go into another Third World War. But right now there's enough of us that's awake that we won't buy any story that actually is not reality. They can say whatever they want to across the news wave and the TV, and they can try to put fear into everybody, but there's a lot of people that are awakened that can shoot down a story in a matter of 24 hours. Call it a false flag, call it whatever you want. It ain't going to happen like it did once before in 2001, 9/11. Anything that goes down now is being looked at with the eyes of very enlightened beings and very powerful, conscious, vibratory beings that can literally change time and space, just like they have done in evil and darkness, to keep us in the dark and blind so they could feed off of our fear. Now, that is what's changing on planet Earth, and that is the harvest. It's the harvest of our thoughts, going from their energy source into the light of truth. And as soon as we talk about these things amongst ourselves, the better it gets.
All right. Buddy Huggins is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. How is CERN involved with this, Buddy?
Well, CERN is a catalyst, which is, it's hard to actually explain, but everybody understands super collider. Everybody understands atoms hitting atoms. But it's way deeper and way more complicated than that. There's a type of energy that comes from the type of thought that they put into the actions to do the colliding. And what they're looking for, they've already found. The so-called Higgs boson God particle. But what shut the machine down was not a weasel. If you look at the research and you can hear and talk about it, it was something supernatural that has happened right during the time they were running one of their best experiments with the highest voltage that they had ever ran before. Supposedly, one of the female scientists was sitting in a chair and she disappeared. And that got people thinking that we're actually doing the experiment. And that's when, like, I was telling you, in 2012, 12/21, if they had opened a black hole and it had swallowed us, they had to do the reset. And that could be what has happened to change some of the things that they're trying to do. That, in other words, the good side can give over to the dark side, and they open a porthole that actually allows more of these creator gods and their demons to come in. I'm not saying that's going to happen or has it already happened. I'm just saying that no matter what they do, they can't stop the awakening. It's like you can't put the genie back in the bottle. And they know it. So let's see when they fire it back up, what kind of information they give us, and then we can see, is there more glitches in the system, or we can see, is there more peace in the system? Is there more truth in the system? But that CERN that we see is a reflection of what's happening within our inner being, our atoms, our cells, our DNA. And that's what they don't want us to really understand, is that we have the control over our own destiny with our thoughts.
With about 35 seconds to go before break, do you believe then that CERN is the one who has changed all these timelines?
I believe it affected the AI, but I don't believe it is the AI. It's a tool. It's a tool to either open up porthole, or it's a tool to do what they say, just smash atoms. It's one and the same. It's the flat Earth versus the round Earth. It's that kind of thing. It could be that they take the Earth grid down completely one more time. We won't know. When we're on the other side, we won't have a clue. So
And on
whether
that
they
note,
got that.
yeah, I'm going to get you to hold on to that thought because we're going to go to break here at the top of the hour. Buddy Huggins is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're getting into CERN. Have they somehow played with the timeline we're on? Is that why we have the Mandela effect going on? We're going to find out more from Buddy Huggins right here on Spaced Out Radio. His website, buddyhuggins.blogspot.com. More Spaced Out Radio coming up right after this. Woo!
A reflection of who you are. Visit them today at
We are getting ready.
Storybox.
The spiritual you.
To the Mandela effect. Buddy Huggins is our guest tonight on the show. His website, buddyhuggins.blogspot.com. Buddy, thanks for being here.
I'm glad to be here.
My friend, we need to talk about CERN a little bit more. Do you believe that the technology that is being run through CERN has affected these timelines that we're on?
Well, there's evidence to show that it has, but there's also evidence to show that it hasn't. So it's one of these kind of things that is it the cause or is it the effect of the Mandela effect? So it's to the point that some people are saying it's not even a Mandela effect, it's an CERN effect. Now, I don't have enough scientific information to actually show that, but I can say that there is some information or an ability to understand that when they have done the firing up of the machine, that it has a gravitational effect that can be witnessed all the way around the Earth. So that's a pretty powerful machine. But to actually go in and have it change the ripple of time where we see that CP30 is all gold in my mind, in my remembering, but in other people's minds, he has a silver leg now. So I can't answer that question except to say if it's not a catalyst, it is a potential problem. And I say potential because it can be fired up again. And the type of change that they're making to the machine is upscaling. Whatever it was producing is going to be greater than when they fire it back up. That's dangerous, in my opinion. But then again, how can a person from the outside looking in and be able to stop it? You can't. So that brings me back to what we can control, and that's our thoughts. That's the only thing about this world that we've ever had the ability to have any control over is the way we think. And when we change the way we think, the things around us change. But when we really change the way we think, the matter of the substance of our reality changes. That's the CERN effect. That's the Mandela effect. That's what has to happen to the race that we call mankind. We have to get to the level where we're able to change the things that are in us that would cause us to do evil to that would do good. And it's got nothing to do with religion, but it's got everything to do with the great teaching of the ones that have come here to show us that this is a game. And I don't know about you, but all of the great teachers that I've studied of consciousness and love are that entities that have seen through the illusion of the matrix. Whether they called it that at the time they were in this reality is beside the point. They knew that something was not right with the reality. And that's what I'm actually telling and saying to people that I see and meet, to be able to keep doing this type of research to understand why can't people see what I see. Nobody's ever going to see what I see. It's impossible. It's perspective. It's a lifetime of judgment. This is one thing that Joe Turner taught me, and I couldn't get this when he said it, but I'm going to say it to you and your audience. He said the last judgment is when you stop judging. And I said, it can't be that simple, Joe. And Joe said, how complicated do you want to make it? And I said, no, I want somebody to judge me. He said, you judge yourself every day, every moment almost. But when you come into total alignment with forgiveness in your heart, you're on the way, because the one that has to be forgiven the most is you. And then I could start really, once I lived with him and rode with him up and down the road, I started realizing that that is a truth that can save or change the world. It's that simple, but yet it's that profound that people can't get to the point that they can't let their anger or their resentment or their vendetta go, because they really believe somebody harmed them and they've got to have revenge. Well, that's what the illusion is. There is nothing to be forgiven for. And now when I say that, I got to say this. No one has ever done anything to us. It's just the way we thought or think about the incident. So all that has to be changed to change our timeline or to change our reality is the way we feel about it in our heart and forgive it. I know it sounds crazy, but it's that simple. And when enough of us do that, then the world will change. And it is changing now. I've seen it change from the time that I started meeting these people, these Christ-conscious beings. And like I said, most of them should be famous. I mean, they should literally, everybody in the world should know who these people are. But the best of the Christ-conscious beings that I've met, which is only a handful in this country, this southern part of the United States that I traveled for 2.5 years, nobody knows them. Nobody has a clue that they're in the midst of that type of being, that personality. But you know when you see someone that their eyes are just lit up and they're telepathic to the point that you realize that you're meeting yourself almost. That's the type of medicine that can heal anything. These people are that powerful. And they have been here for quite a while. And they witnessed and been prophesied to that I would come on the scene. People that would wake up in a matter of a week. And Joe told me before he passed that I would see in my lifetime people waking up within hours, and they're young. They'll be young, 20-year-olds, very young people. And we see that. We see that in the reality of the world right now. Some of these children are coming into this world. They call them indigo children. And these children have gifts that supersede the forerunners. In other words, Joe had the gift of healing. Some of these children have got the gift of time manipulation itself. And they can literally shift reality in the presence of people where they can become healed and complete within a conversation. And they're also, one of the trademarks of these children are they got great gifts like singing or playing instruments or doing math. And every time I see a new one come on the scene, it just makes me happy, because that means we're getting closer and closer to cleaning up the reality that we're in. When the shift takes place, it'll be, the dramatic disclosure will be so overwhelming that the acceleration of consciousness will increase every month. It will be so noticeable. It's almost palatable, noticeable now that it's happening, that I'm shocked myself that everybody can't see it right now, but it's happening.
How do we see it? How do we see it?
Well, there's one way to see it, is that a news story can come on the TV and be horribly disturbing. And the next thing you see is that they got no explanation. I'll give you an example. Let me try. I was thinking about this today, the Ebola type thing. Okay, I can tell you the Ebola is not going to spread. You know why I know it's not going to spread? Because when it was called the swine flu, it didn't spread. When it was called the bird flu, it didn't spread. Now they want to call it Ebola, and it's not going to do what they say it's going to do. Now, if they had their way, we would already be a pandemic. The bird flu, the swine flu, and now they're bringing, it's like a loop, it's like a cycle. They're bringing Ebola back up. But if you research Ebola and you look at the fact that what year it broke out in and how many victims, it's like the measles. They're trying to tell us that the measles is something to be afraid of. It's all because they want to vaccinate. They want to have a vaccination for Ebola, and then they want to make the mass population line up and be happy to take this vaccination. Now, they make money off the vaccination, but they can also put something in the vaccination to help mess up people's minds and people's bodies.
I'm vaccinated, and my mind isn't messed up. I would say my ex-wife and my former mother-in-law messed me up more than vaccinations did.
Well, that is a true statement in your reality in your life, and I can understand that.
I would say I would say it's a reality in most people's lives, buddy.
Well, that's the difference between a researcher and a person that's actually put a lot of conscious thought to it and look at why certain things happen to bring out the new vaccinations, to bring out the reasons to updo this, where your shots have to be for a child going into school to 15 to 27.
Let me ask you this. When you went to school, was there anybody who was allergic to peanut butter?
No.
Because I don't recall anybody being allergic to peanut butter. And now my children cannot bring peanut butter to school because of infections, because of diseases, because of allergies potent enough to kill somebody. Could this not be the fact of anti-vaccination and not preparing our kids for the inevitable of these diseases that are hidden around this planet? This planet has a lot of things that can kill you, man. It's not just wildlife.
Well, that's true, and I think from what I understand is that a lot of times it's the vaccinations itself that are causing the problems, and there's enough scientific evidence that can actually prove that out. But most of the biologists that can actually come forth and be able to actually show scientific evidence, they're shut down because of the pharmaceutical industry and the universal, the universities that they do these great studies at is really literally a puppet of this dark cabal that we're speaking of, that has to do with the fact they want to keep people broke, busted, sick, and disgusted. That's the way you keep them under mind control. when you have a person that can control their own health with their own thinking and don't need pharmaceuticals, then you've got a problem. You've got a glitch in the matrix, and that's what they don't want. They don't want people to realize where the disease is really coming from. Where is the cause and the effect? In my generation, there were very few autistic children. The study that has come out in the last year is diabolical. It says by the year 2030, every male baby born in the northern hemisphere will be autistic. And by the 2030. So you see why the rush to move us into the singularity and actually transhumanism is because they can call a huge, what they call huge number of the population and just do away with the imbeciles. They consider us imbeciles. They consider us less than human. And that's just the facts. And we're not that. We're greater than that. But see, that's the game. They know who we really are, and the conscious people know who they really are. But we can see that the perpetrators of the evil don't have our best interests at heart. So I would tell anybody, use a doctor for what it's good for, to do certain tests and certain procedures. But if you get stuck in that medical model system, you're asking to go down in health. Next thing you know, you're dead. Do they kill people? From the outside looking in, it looks like they help people. But if you really actually knew 300,000 people a year died from the use or ill abuse of a doctor. And that's the statistical information that we are actually freely given.
Doctors are human and they make mistakes.
300,000 of them, lots and lots of mistakes. You better believe it. Every weekend, and this is another statistical information that people don't want to hear or don't want to talk about, but every weekend there are people dying of opiates, and they're not teenagers. They're older people that have reached the hospice stage of their life. There's a depopulation of the world going on as we speak, and it's happening once you get into Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The amount of people that are dying in old folks' homes and nursing homes and assisted living homes, and it's just the numbers are just diabolical. And like we were saying, the birth rate is the lowest it's been in 30 years. Now, that's just not in the United States. That's worldwide. So we're at this point of having to get this disclosure to understand what is happening. Now, who is providing the disclosure? That's the $200 million question. How's that going to happen? What's it going to look like? Nobody really knows, except we know that. Have you heard anything about the white hats that are in place inside of high agencies like the CIA, FBI, NSA, DARPA?
Well, I mean, there is some question as to whether or not there is a shadow government out there. We only got about 2 minutes left, just so you know.
Okay. Well, the good news is that the white hats are the good guys, and they have the off-world intelligence and the AI of the light. But see, there's an AI of the dark, and there's an intelligence system that is the deep state that they're in battle with. And that's what we're witnessing and seeing in our everyday life, just to get us to the point of disclosure. Right now, they're saying they want a partial disclosure, or they want war. So within the next few weeks and the next few years, we will see a change of everything that we thought we knew. And once you get back on the right thinking path, then we can move on to the next reality of understanding how to make the world better instead of worse. There has to be a winner and a loser in this. And I believe the light is winning.
All right,
So,
we got about 1 minute left with you tonight, buddy. Tell everybody where they could check out your website and where they can find your information.
well, you can always search my name, Buddy Huggins, in Google, and that'll get you to everything that I do social media-wise. But my website is buddyhuggins.blogspot.com. But yeah, if you do an image search and a video search, you can see all my videos. I got a lot of videos up, but I'm shadow banned and otherwise demonetized. But if you come to my Facebook and the YouTube channel, leave a comment, tell me that subscribe, and that's a good way to make contact with me. But other than that, everybody keep the faith, and things are going to get better.
I think they will. I think they absolutely will. Buddy Huggins, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. What a pleasure to have you on the show and informing us about everything that you have learned. Appreciate your time, man.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. And you take care. Buddy Huggins, everybody. That's buddyhuggins.blogspot.com.
Well, hello, everybody. I hope y'all enjoyed that. It just reflected my mind back on. Yeah, this was the date was 319, and that was well before 2020. And we all know what happened 2020. So I don't have to be right. I don't have to be wrong. We just have to keep moving along. There's some good stuff that's going to happen, and there's some bad shit that's going to happen. It's just a matter of, can you put it in the right category? And with that category, can you stay and have your being in peace no matter what happens, no matter what it seems to be? It's our thinking that can get us into trouble, and it's our thinking that can get us out of trouble. So that's all I got for tonight. Just a walk through the past with talking about things that need to be brought up. So y'all have a wonderful day, and catch me when I'm live the next time. See ya.